Standard form, slope-intercept form, and finding intercepts. Standard form is when you see an equation written as ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are just numbers. The thing you need to notice is that the variables are on one side. They're written alphabetically with the x in front, and remember a, b, and c, a and b are coefficients of the variables, and c is just a constant, a number. The second thing is, when an equation is written in standard form, there are no fractions. So you multiply by a number that eliminates all the fractions. And the last thing, as I said, you write it alphabetically. X is in front, X is first, and normally you're going to see X be positive. What that means is that if X is negative, you divide each term by -1 and just flip all the signs. Now, for our purposes, I'm not going to make a big deal out of 3. As long as you get these two, I'll accept the answer. Let's take a look at some examples. Here's an equation I'm going to put in standard form. Standard form has the x's and y's on one side and has no fractions. So I'm going to get rid of fractions first because I don't like fractions. I notice that 1/3 is 1 divided by 3. To get rid of division by 3, I multiply by 3. And I'm going to multiply both sides by 3, like this. But over here, because of the plus, I just have to take 3 to both. I have to distribute the 3 to both. So I get 3y equals, the 3's cancel. Now that's 1x, or x, plus 15. The last thing I need to do then is move the x over to the other side. That's a positive x. To move it, I subtract it. And notice it's going to be negative on the left side. That's going to be a negative x, a positive 3y equals 15. Now that's an acceptable answer for my purposes. Sometimes you'll see that when x is negative, we'll divide each term by -1. When you divide by -1, you flip the signs, and it'll be x minus 3y equals -15. And these two equations are the same. There is no difference. The reason standard form is useful is it's a very easy form to find the intercepts in. Now, the intercepts refer to where the line crosses when you graph it, the x-axis, that's the x-intercept, and the y-axis, that's the y-intercept. Before we use this standard form to find the intercepts, I need you to observe something. Look at the line here and where it crosses the axes. Notice that this point right here is 5, 0. And the important thing to realize is that if you're on the x-axis, y is 0, always, if you're on the x-axis. And if you're on the y-axis, this point is x is 0, y is 3. Again, the important thing to notice is that if you're on the y-axis, x is 0. So here's what we need to remember. For the x-intercept, y is 0. And for the y-intercept, x is 0. For the x-intercept, y is 0. For the y-intercept, x is 0. We can use what I just said to create a table that we could graph a line with very quickly. For the x-intercept, y is 0. For the y-intercept, x is 0. Now take a look at this equation. X minus 3y equals -15. And notice what happens if you plug in y as 0. X minus 3 times 0 equals -15. This just drops out because anything times 0 is 0. And I see that x is -15. -15. And I can do that one more time. I can take my equation, x minus 3y equals -15, and plug in x is 0. 0 minus 3y equals negative 15. Just like with the x-intercept, that 0 just disappears, and I have a simple equation to solve. Negative 3y equals negative 15. Let's take that over here and solve it. Negative 3y equals negative 15. Divide by negative 3, and y would equal 5. And we can see our y-intercept is 5, 0, 5. Here's another example we're going to put in standard form. Y minus 7 equals, and we'll distribute 1/2 to both. 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. And when I take 1/2 times 5, it's 5 over 1, which is just 5 over 2. The 5 is over 1. 1 times 5 is 5 up top, and 2 times 1 is 2 below. Let's get rid of fractions. I need to get rid of division by 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. I'm going to have to distribute on both sides. I'll take a 2, and over here I'll distribute and multiply by 2, and I get 2y minus 14 equals, the 2's cancel, x minus, and the 2's cancel, 5. Now I'm looking for ax plus by equals c. I got rid of fractions. Remember, standard form has no fractions, but I need to move the x over with the y and move the 14 over with the 5. Get the variables on one side and the number on the other. Let's get rid of the x. Subtract x from both sides. Now remember that x is in front. It's ax plus by equals c. So that's negative x plus 2y minus 14 equals negative 5. Notice I brought that down as a negative 5. Now I'll add that 14 and move it over with the 5. Negative x plus 2y equals 9. You can, optionally, if you like, divide everything by negative 1, and that would flip all the signs. That would be x minus 2y equals negative 9. And again, these are the same equation. Let's find the intercepts. I'm looking for the x-intercept, y is 0. I'm looking for the y-intercept, x is 0. So I'm going to plug those in the equation, and I'll use negative x plus 2y equals 9 as my equation. When I plug in y is 0, it's negative x plus 2 times 0 equals 9. So negative x equals 9. Divide by negative 1, and x would be negative 9. Do that again. This time we're going to put in x is 0. So negative x plus 2y equals 9 becomes the negative 0. That's just 0. Plus 2y equals 9. So 2y equals 9. Now you might be tempted to make this a decimal, but let me warn you that a lot of decimals have to be rounded, and we don't want any rounded answers. So get in the habit of using fractions. Just divide by 2. 9 divided by 2 is your answer. That doesn't simplify because 9 and 2 have no common factors. It doesn't reduce. 9 halves. So our intercepts then are negative 9, 0, and 0, 9 halves. That's 4.5. Slope-intercept form, you've heard it before, I'm betting. It's y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope. The slope is the rate. It's the rate the line jumps from point to point. And b is the y-intercept. Now, just to point out, remember how we said on the previous page that for the y-intercept, x is 0? Notice that if you take this equation, you go y equal m, x is 0, plus b, you end up with just y equals b. In other words, the y-intercept is always 0, x is 0, b, where b is that number right there. So if I give you an equation, y equal 2/3 x plus 7, we know that this is the slope. We use m for slope. And this is the y-intercept, where the line crosses the y-axis. It would be the point 0, 7. Okay, quick reminder about slope. M is the slope, and slope is defined as rise over run. And we'll talk about that more in the next day or two. Slope is rise over run. When you solve for y, the slope is always sitting in front of the x every single time. And the intercept is always either what's added or subtracted afterward. So if I give you an equation, y equals 5x minus 2, I know the slope, that's m, is 5, and the y-intercept, that's b, is negative 2. If I give you an equation, y equals negative 1/3 x plus 10, then I know that the slope is negative 1/3, and the intercept is 10. Putting an equation in slope-intercept form is what we do continuously. So we're looking for y equal mx plus b. We're going to get y by itself. The last thing we do is we'll divide by negative 5. To get y by itself, the first step is to move the x over on the other side. Now let me point out, these are not like terms. You can't subtract them. We're headed for mx plus b. That means we're going to put the x in front, and it's going to be negative 3x plus 15. And you can't simplify that. The last step then is to get rid of the negative 5. So we'll divide everything by negative 5. Now, you can write it like this, that's fine, but understand you're going to divide both the negative 3x and the 15 by negative 5. So this becomes y equals negative 3 divided by negative 5 is a negative divided by a negative. That's a positive. That's 3/5 x. And positive 15 divided by negative 5 is negative 3. And I then know that the slope, the rise over the run, is 3/5, and the y-intercept, b, is negative 3. At this point, students often get standard form and slope-intercept form mixed up. Standard form has no fractions. Slope-intercept form has fractions. Slope-intercept form is y equal mx plus b, and m is defined as rise over run. It is a fraction. So slope-intercept has fractions. Often and always, because slope, even if it's a whole number, 5 is 5 over 1. We are not going to eliminate fractions here. What do we do then? Well, we solve for y. The first step is to distribute. 2/3 x minus. 2/3 times 4, 4 is over 1. It's 2 times 4, 8. Over 3 times 1, 3. The last step to get y by itself is to add 5 to both sides. Add 5. Y equals, at this point, I would go to Desmos. And if you don't have a calculator, Desmos can handle this just fine. I'll show you. Go to desmos.com, bring up the graphing calculator, type in what you're adding, negative 8/3 plus 5, and then hit the little fraction button right here. Once you do that, it will take this and spit it out as an exact fraction. We're not going to use decimals. So 7/3 then is our intercept. Remember, it's y equal mx plus b, so our slope, our m, rise over run, will be 2/3, and b, our y-intercept, will be 7/3. Here are some questions from your assignment. These first questions are review. When we did these type of questions before, though, they were in a table. Now you just have a simple ordered pair. Less to find out. So here we have x is -5. We don't know y. So we'll take our equation and we'll plug in -5 for x. 6 times -5 minus 7y equals -9. That's -30 minus 7y equals -9. Get the y by itself. Add 30 to both sides. -7y equals +21. Divide by -7, and y is -3. So our ordered pair is -5, -3. In question 3, we don't know x, but we do know y. Y is -7. So we'll take this equation. 3 times x, we don't know x, minus 2 times y, which is -7, equals 17. That's 3x. Notice the double negative. Minus 2, -17. That's plus 14 equals 17. Get the x by itself. Take a 14 off each side. 3x equals 3. Divide by 3, and you can see x is 1. So ordered pair is 1 for x, -7 for y. Question 7. This is a quick one. Select the equation that is in standard form. We're looking for ax plus by equals c. No fractions. X in front and positive normally. Variables on one side, the constant, the number on the other. Which one's in standard form? It is the last one. The last one has the variables on one side, alphabetically x then y, no fractions, and the number on the other side. That's the constant. I did one like this in the teaching. This is standard form. There are no fractions, and we're looking for ax plus by equals c. Let's get rid of fractions. We have division by 7. We're going to multiply both sides by 7. On this side, I have to distribute, so I'll take a 7 to both. The 7s are going to cancel, and we get 7y equals 3x minus 21. Notice I took 7 to each term. Now we're almost there. Move the 3x on the other side. It's positive. I'm going to subtract it. Remember, x is in front. -3x, positive 7y equals -21. Optionally, you can make x positive if you like. So divide everything by -1. 3x minus 7y equals 21. Another one. Let's write this thing in standard form. ax plus by equals c. No fractions. So the first thing we're going to do is distribute. That's y plus 30 equals 6/7 x plus, now I'm going to take 6/7 times 42. The 7 and the 42 cancel. 7 goes into 42 6 times. So this is y plus 30 equals 6/7 x plus 36. You're almost there. Standard form has no fractions. I don't recommend you get rid of fractions immediately here because students usually do this wrong. If you get rid of fractions, you would not distribute what you're multiplying by into the parentheses until you had canceled, because you multiply left to right when you multiply numbers. It's safer to do it at this point. Multiply everything by 7. every term, everything separated by addition, subtraction, or an equals. These 7's cancel. 7y plus 210 equals 6x plus 7 times 36 is 252. Now we'll move the 6x over. So we'll subtract it from both sides. And you can do this at once if you like. We need to move the 210 over with the 252, so we'll subtract 210 from both sides. Be careful you don't get confused here. This is negative 6x plus 7y equals 42. And optionally, you can divide everything by -1, and you get 6x minus 7y equals negative 42. But these two equations are the same. I would accept either. One of the best uses of standard form is to find intercepts. If we're looking for the x-intercept, we know that y is 0. If we're looking for the y-intercept, we know that x is 0. So we can take our equation and plug in 0 for y. That's 7x plus 3 times 0 equals negative 84. 7x equals negative 84. Divide by 7. And 84 divided by 7 is 12. So this is x equals negative 12. For our other intercept, that's the y-intercept, we know that x is 0. So take that equation, 7 times 0, put in x is 0, plus 3y equals negative 84. That's 3y equals negative 84. 84 divided by 3 is 28. So this is y equals negative 28. So the x-intercept is negative 12 and the y-intercept is negative 28. Let's write this equation in standard form. Y plus 36 equals negative 9/7 x plus, notice it's a negative times a negative, and we'll take 9 times 35 and divide it by 7. That's basically 9/7 times 35. And as I said, it's 9 times 35 divided by 7. Well, 7 goes into 35 5 times. So I have y plus 36 equals negative 9/7 x plus 45. Now we'll get rid of fractions. We're going to multiply everything by 7. That's what will get rid of division by 7. So we have 7y plus 7 times 36 is 252 equals, the 7's cancel, negative 9x plus, and 45 times 7 is 315. Now we'll move the x over with the y and the 252 over with the 315. So we'll add 9x to move it to both sides. And to move the 252, we have to subtract it from both sides. Our equation becomes 9x plus 7y equals 63. Let's find the x-intercept. For the x-intercept, I know that y is 0. That's 9x plus 7 times 0 equals 63. Or 9x equals 63. Divide by 9, and x equals 7. Now let's find the y-intercept. So take the equation right here and put in x is 0. For the y-intercept, x is 0. 9 times 0 plus 7y equals 63. That's 7y equals 63. Divide by 7, and y would equal 9. So our intercepts are 7, 0 for x and 0, 9 for y. Let's take a look at this one. A little easier to move to standard form. I'm going to get rid of fractions and multiply by 7. The 7's cancel. I get 7y equals 3x. Don't forget to multiply the 6 by 7, minus 42. Now I'll move the 3x over and subtract it from both sides. So negative 3x plus 7y equals negative 42. You can divide by -1 if you like and change every sign. These two are the same equation, as I've mentioned before. Now let's find our x-intercept where y is 0. 3x, when you put in y 0, this term drops out. It's 3x equals 42. Divide by 3, and x is 14. If I'm looking for the y-intercept, I know that x is 0, and this term drops out. And I get negative 7y equals 42. Divide by negative 7, and y equals negative 6. So intercepts are 14, 0, and 0, negative 6. Here's a really quick one. Select the equation that is in slope-intercept form. We're looking for y equals mx plus b, where y is by itself. That would be this one right here. So our second one is y equal mx plus b. Determine the slope and y-intercept of the function. That's the equation. It's y equal mx plus b. M is the slope, so the slope is 3/5. The y-intercept is the point. Remember, for the y-intercept, x is 0. And when I put in x is 0 and plug it in, I get y is 18. 18 is the y-intercept. B is the y-intercept, and m is the slope. Rewrite this equation in slope-intercept form. What we're looking for is y equals mx plus b. We want y by itself. So there are two steps here. This is quick. Y minus 6, distribute. Take the -2 to both. -2 times x is -2x. -2 times +5 is -10. Get the y by itself. Get rid of that -6. Add 6 to both sides. Y equals -2x. -10 plus 6 is -4. So the slope is -2, and the y-intercept is -4. And our equation was y equal -2x minus 4. Let's put this equation in slope-intercept form. We're going to get y by itself, where we can see the slope and intercept. -6x plus 6y equals -10. The last thing we do is divide by 6 that's in front of the y. We divide by the coefficient last. So move the 6x to the other side. It's negative. We'll add it to both sides. And we're headed for mx plus b. We want the x in front. So this is 6y equals, we'll put the x in front, positive 6x minus 10. Remember, those are not like terms. You can't combine them. The last step is to divide everything by 6, divide by 6, divide by 6, and y equals 6 divided by 6 is 1, so that's 1x, or x, minus 10 over 6. Do not make that a decimal. We don't have to round. Let's point out that 10 over 6, that they're both even, If you divide them both by 2, that's how you reduce a fraction. You divide them both by the common factor. Divide by 2 and you get 5 over 3. So 10 over 6 is 5 over 3. That means this is y equal x minus 5/3. The slope-intercept form, y equal x minus 5/3. The slope is 1. It's the number in front of x. If there is no number there, there's a 1. That's the m. And the y-intercept is the b. It's negative 5/3. Notice again, if I take and plug in 0 for x, 0 times anything is 0, and you end up with y equals negative 5/3. That's why the intercept is negative 5/3. Here's another one. We're going to solve for y. We're going to make y equal mx plus b. Get y by itself. Negative 10x minus 9y equals 1. First of all, we'll move the 10x to the other side. It's negative, so we'll add it. We're headed for mx plus b. We can't combine 1 and 10x. They're not like terms. This is negative 9y equals 10x plus 1. Almost there. Get the y by itself. Divide by that negative 9. You end up with a messy looking equation. Y equals negative 10/9 x minus 1/9. Slope-intercept form, y equal negative 10/9 x minus 1/9. The slope is negative 10 over 9, and the y-intercept is 0, negative 1/9. One more example. This one's a little messier, but just a little bit. Again, you might want to use Desmos if you have to add fractions. We are going to create y equal mx plus b and get y by itself. The first step is to eliminate the parentheses. Y minus 5 equals 8/5 times x is 8/5 x. 8/5 times 1 is 8/5. Remember, when you multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across. If I were to take 8/5 times 2/3, that would be 16/15. That's just an example. Multiply straight across. 1 is 1 over 1, so it didn't change 8/5. Our last step is to add 5, and this is what I was referring to. You're going to want to go to Desmos right here. Plug that in Desmos. Go to desmos.com, enter the fractions that you're adding. That was negative 8/5 plus 5. It's going to give you a decimal. Sometimes a decimal is okay if it terminates and comes out nice. But a lot of times these questions will require fractions, so you're going to want to hit the fraction button, and it will tell you that it's 17/5. Our equation is y equals 8/5 x plus 17/5. The slope is 8/5, and the y-intercept is 17/5.